how you doing tonight? Tonight I'm going to be talking about season 4 of Yellowstone, and I just want to let you know right up front that I will be spoiling the show. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want to know anything about it, go check it out, and then come back and maybe listen to the thoughts that I have on the show. I do want to touch base a little bit about last season. I'm not going to get really into it too much in too great a detail because I really want to get to this episode. But this movie, I'm sorry, this show is, I'm watching it on Amazon Prime. I think it's available. There was some trailer for Paramount Plus, so I'm not sure because I don't have Paramount Plus, but I purchased the season on Amazon, so that's what I'm watching it from. That's what I'm watching it on. So right off, I'll say the end of last season was a huge cliffhanger. And we saw the Dutton family who own this gigantic ranch, and they are embattled with big corporations and the local Native American tribe and the local authorities. And it's a really cool show in terms of there's a lot of drama, and it's based in somewhat of reality, but there are some things that are definitely unrealistic, which I don't want to grade too hard on, but there are some things that I cannot overlook when it comes to the show. But I think it's a good show. I liked season 1. I thought season 1 was really good. I did not like season 2. I thought season 2 was poorly written, and I thought the characters, they just took the characters in a really weird direction, and they've kind of kept them on that path. Season 3 was a little bit of a rebound for me. I really enjoyed season 3. Wasn't perfect, had its flaws, like every show does. Every show has flaws, but I was back in. Like when I finished season 2, I wasn't sure if I was going to come back for season 3. So, but I'm glad I did because I enjoyed it. And like I said, it left us on a cliffhanger where you have Kevin Costner, who plays John Dutton, and he and his entire family just got almost wiped out. And we were left with Kevin Costner being gunned down on the side of the road. So John Dutton was gunned down on the side of the road. He was left for dead. His daughter, Beth Dutton, she was in an office building that got blown up. And then you had Casey Dutton, the son, who was played by Luke Grimes. And I'm sorry, Kelly Riley is who plays Beth Dutton. And Luke Grimes, who plays Casey Dutton, he was attacked. He was right in the middle of basically an ambush. He is a livestock agent who has his own office, and they had some guys storm in with guns, and the shootout was just beginning, and then it just cut. The series cut, and it really left us on a cool cliffhanger, I thought. So I was excited to pick up where we left off, and I have some notes here, so I'll be looking at my phone a little bit here. Right away, I want to say that the first 15 minutes or we'll say the first like 10, 15 minutes, I think it was around the 15-minute mark, but it was really intense and it was really good. So we see, and I don't remember exactly, because I just finished watching it, but I don't remember exactly the scenes as they came out in the show, but I was just kind of tapping on my phone, jotting down a few notes here and there as they were going on. But first off, I want to talk about the explosion with Beth. Now, Beth is obviously she's John's daughter, but she is a character that I don't really like. She is extremely annoying. She's kind of a douchebag in my opinion. She just is. I liked her in season 1. I thought she was heading for a really cool arc, and then they just turned her into this really like over the top macho, like just can't say a sentence without cussing, can't say anything without an insult. And they really write her lines with some sort of like, I don't know, kind of like I guess they try to make her seem like she's wise and that she has these little quip lines that she says that are supposed to, I think, come off as like intelligent in a crass way, but it never lands with me. And, I was watching this with Normie wife, and she feels the same way. Every time she's on screen, it's always like, what's she going to say now? Because she's just not a character that I can root for at all. She's just kind of, they wrote her as like this douchebag. Like if she was a guy and she spoke like this, I'd be saying the same shit. She just talks like a douche all the time, just constantly crass and ridiculous things. And so when at the end of the season where we see the bomb go off, I was surprised. I really didn't think it was going to be. I was like, because to me it was like she's dead. There's no way she survived. But she, we pick up right where the explosion happened, and she's walking out of the building, and there's all this debris and everything's going on. And when I first saw her, she's covered in blood, her clothes are ripped up, and at first glance, I was like, "Whoa, she is wow, she's probably going to die." And then the camera shows more of her as she kind of walks out and she sits down on the curb, and her back is completely scorched. Just her clothes are melted into her skin. It was really gruesome. And this show was like that too. The show is very, it's not for the faint of heart. There are things that they show, and I, which I doesn't bother me, but just, want to say that. But they, it was just kind of silly the more I looked at it, because I had this feeling of like, whoa, she's in a lot of pain, and there's no way she's going to make it. But I thought it was ridiculous that they had her sit on the curb, and her back is basically, I mean, I couldn't tell for sure, but it looked like her back was just gone. Like she had nothing left. And she asked for a cigarette. Guy comes up, asks if she's okay, and she's like, "Can I have a cigarette?" And then she starts smoking a cigarette, and she does like a mean stare at the camera. It was completely unrealistic. And I know it's a show. I understand that it's not based in reality. But when you have a show that is trying to be based in reality, you have to adhere to the rules of humans and how we react to things. The bomb went off within, I'd say, maybe 10 steps away, like 10 paces away is where the bomb went off. Her assistant was opening the bomb, or the package that blew up. And the building completely blew out. Every single window, everything was just gone. And there is no way that she survived. None. So when I first saw her, I thought, wow, this is terrible. She's going to die a horrible death. And then, no, she's fine. There's nothing wrong with her. And I thought it was just, it really bothered me. I laughed. I audibly laughed. I was like, wait, what is she just fine? Like, cause she looked totally fine. But regardless, then we move on, and then we see, Casey. And that was when things really got just super intense, and I was really enjoying it. Casey, like I said, was left off in his office. Two guys come in with fully automatic rifles and start shooting the place up. He flips his desk over for cover, and he pulls his weapon, and that's when the screen cut. So we pick up right where that left off, and Casey is a highly trained military operator. And when shows give respect and they show a person, because they're just actors, right? But when they do it right, and they make me believe that this person looks and acts like a trained and skilled military operator, because I wasn't in the military, so I'm not like saying it because I know better. I'm just saying I really enjoy when they pay homage to someone who is trained, and someone who they just know, because they know how to act, and they know how to respond, unlike a civilian like myself would. So he just goes right to work. He goes right to the mode, throws a flashbang, drops both guys. Then he picks up one of their guns, and then he takes off, and then there's a lot of commotion. He's trying to figure out who's what and what's going on. And he gets on the phone, and he's speaking to Rip, who is played by, and is a character that I really like. I think everyone likes Rip. He's played by Cole Hauser. His name's Rip Wheeler in the show. And Rip is the one who picks up and finds John Dutton, the dad, who was gunned down on the side of the road. And they don't really, so between the time where John Dutton gets shot and then the fade to black, they don't show him. It looks like he's unconscious on the ground, but when we go back to John, he's still on the road. He's waking up, and as this camera pulls out, on the ground, on the asphalt, there's a vehicle description written, and it says like northbound, like blue van northbound, and it points at an arrow. Has a little arrow that points. So I don't know if that was him. I wouldn't think it was him. And we saw him helping, it was like a mother and her son. He had pulled over to help them change a tire or something, and when he got shot at the end of the season. And so I don't know if it was one of them. I think it would be cool if one of them were the ones who did that, and then they left, because we don't see them again. It's just John by himself, and Rip finds him. So when Rip finds him and Casey calls him, he tells Casey, Rip does, what was written on the ground. He says blue van, gives him the description. So Casey, he's right in action, and he tells the sheriff what to do, and he, like, basically not telling them what to do, but he's giving them directions because he knows what's going on. And he coordinates a helicopter to pick up John because he's not going to make it to the hospital because he's really dying. So he heads off, and he comes up to he comes across the van, which, again, it's kind of it's kind of like luck that that would actually happen, that he would catch up to them, but it's okay. Like, it didn't bother me that much, but I was thinking like, wow, it's kind of convenient. He just catches up to him. He just hauls ass, and then boom, they're there. But I did like the fact that the Casey's driving, and the officers that are in tow behind him, they are really driving fast. And in a lot of movies and TV shows, they want us to believe that things are happening really quickly when they're driving cars. Like, it looks like they're hauling ass, but really they're not. And they play a lot of games with cuts and cameras, but they showed some, I respect that they showed some nice clean shots of the vehicles, the trucks, to just really hauling ass, like really driving fast, because that's how it would be in real life. So then anyways, he comes across the van, he sees it, and he broadsides it, takes the van out, they spin out. And then it was just a really intense, like, 90 seconds of just hailfire of bullets. The van, when it spins out, Casey goes right into action. The sheriffs, so now he's on one side of the van. The sheriffs are on the other side of the van, because they hung back when Casey crashed into the van. They actually were telling him not to do it because there were civilians around, which again was reckless as hell for Casey to do, but he did what he did. And he pops out, goes right to action, just starts laying down the bullets. And I wasn't really expecting what happened next. So the guy in the van starts shooting, and another guy, and a guy in the passenger seat jumps out. And then the side door opens up, and then another guy comes out. And so now you have three guys, and they got full autos, and they just start spraying. And the whole time it's just gunfire, it's just going off. And I thought the action was really good, and it was really clean. It was really intense. The whole scene was a really well shot scene. And then again, as the sheriffs are, they're now they're out of their vehicles, they're in cover, they're doing the same thing. They're laying down. Everyone's got a rifle, and they're just laying down the bullets. And then uh, the guy hits the van. One of the bad guys does, and the back doors open up, and another guy is facing out the back with another gun, and he just starts laying down the fire on the sheriffs. So it got really good, and then they start, some of the Casey caps one of the guys, and he goes down, and then it ends with, obviously, Casey and the sheriffs. They take these guys out, they clean them out, and it was just a really great scene. So real big props for that whole scene. The cars, the gunfire, everything was really well done. So it was really cool. But Casey gets shot, and the last thing we see is his adrenaline obviously was pumping, and then he's kind of calming down, and he looks down, and he sees there's blood on his shirt. And so that was the other thing too. In the office, after he throws the flashbang and takes the two guys, he throws his vest on. He has a bulletproof vest, and he throws that on. So he was protected, but he got clipped up in the shoulder. But we don't know that at the time. We just see him bloody. He starts to fall down, and then he just lays out. So now the time, I think that was pretty much it. Oh no, that's right. So then we see Casey while he's on the in between that. I actually forgot, because it kind of does. There's a lot of things going on at once, and they do a good job of, like, there's things happening in like four different places, and they do a good job of, like, moving from one scene to the next, because at the ranch is Casey's wife and her son, Tate. And that is, her name is Monica. Sorry, Monica, and she's played by a woman named Kelsey Asbill. Sorry if I didn't say that right. And then her son Tate Dutton is played by Brecken Merrill. So they are alone at the Dutton Ranch in the house. There's other people working on the ranch, but in the home, this big home that they live in, they are just them two. And Casey's telling them to get out of the house. So she kind of, I don't know, Normie wife pointed this out too. She was kind of dragging her feet. Like, he's on the phone screaming for her to get to the ranch house, or the bunkhouse where all the ranch hands are. And He's yelling at her to do it, and it's like she wasn't. I don't know. She just wasn't moving fast. Like you would think in that sort of situation, she'd be hauling ass and just grabbing her son and gone. But regardless, as she's leaving, she's trying to leave the house. She's making her way through the house. I'm sorry. And then a guy tackles her from the side, and everything in the scene was fine except one thing. So the guy gets a hold of her, and she there was a gun. I think she had a gun in her hand. She drops it, slides across the floor in the kitchen, and then we have this sort of regular scene where it's like, oh, I'm reaching for the gun, and the bad guy's on top, and you're trying to fight for it. So he overpowers her obviously, and he gets on top of her, and he like violently smacks her head twice on the floor, and she's still fighting and still kicking, and then he takes her head and just slams it up against the cabinet. And I thought, whoa. I mean, even for me, like I'm a person who I don't mind like, violence in TV shows because it's just TV. It's as long as it's realistic and it's cool and it's in good taste, it's okay. But even for me, I was like, geez, like that was brutal. And he goes and picks up the gun, and he points it at her, and then boom, he gets shotgun blast to the chest. He flies backwards. Tate's the one who pulled the trigger, saving his mom. Now, that scene was just fine. Right there, it was fine until we see Monica get up and walk away as if nothing happened. And I'm telling you, when you see the way that he smacks her head around, it's like concussions don't exist. And that's a running theme through this episode, because I'm going to get into some stuff here. And again, I'm not going to, I want to talk about this opening set, and then I'm not going to go scene by scene or anything like that. But the opening was worth talking about. But she gets up and just walks off like nothing happened. No blood, no nothing. No wooziness, no nothing. She just marches off like she just woke up and had her coffee. So I didn't like that. I thought it was ridiculous. She should have been stumbling, because you don't just get your head. Me, I'm a grown man. If some dude smacks my head on the ground 3 times, like the way she took it, I'd probably be unconscious. And and it's like, again, she is a very small woman, and the way it was done, I was like, wow, she's out. But nope, she was fine. So movie land. And so then they make their way to the bunkhouse. There's a lot of commotion going on. There's other men who are trying to take out the ranch hands, and the ranch hands are out there shooting. And there was kind of a real crazy scene, and it kind of ended there. That was kind of the end of it all. So John Dutton is picked up by the helicopter, and he's flown to the hospital, and we're kind of left wondering who's alive. So I was kind of bummed, because at the end of the day, when the it fades to black, and then we start picking back up where we like time has passed, they did a really poor job of indicating just how much time had passed. They just didn't indicate it. So I don't know if it was like a month or 6 months. I thought that John Dutton spoke about it and said how long he was asking when he woke up out of his coma, because he lives. He woke up, and he was asking the nurse what day it was, and he asked what month, and he said a month. But I thought he said I've been out for a month. But no, I went back and listened to it again. We don't know. He just said what month. So he's asking what day and what month it is, but we don't know. So, but he's got a beard. He's been unconscious. Obviously, he's been in a coma, but he's alive. And then the silliest shit I've ever seen. Beth comes walking around the corner holding a cup of coffee, looking all pretty. She's a very pretty woman. Kelly Riley is very pretty. She comes around the corner just looking like a just normal person, like nothing had happened to her. And it was so, we laughed. Normie wife and me were laughing when we saw that. I was like, are you kidding me? There would have been scars all over her body, would be messed up. I mean, first of all, a bomb goes off right next to you, a bomb that just blows the whole level out of a building, and she's right next to it, and she's not missing a finger, like nothing. She wasn't missing anything, and going back to when she walks out of the building and looks just looking awful. It was just silly because her back was completely singed, but her hair was perfectly nothing. She wasn't like burned hair or nothing. Everything was just normal. And I really thought they could have done a much better job of indicating, at least if you're going to go as far as to say, okay, she's Superwoman and she can survive a severe blast like that, show something. But all they did was they always do that thing in movies and TV shows. they always make the stud guy, the hot looking dude, or the really pretty woman. They always have like a really cool scar. It's like right here. It's like that one. It's like a movie scar. It's not disfiguring. It doesn't make the person look unattractive in any way because they can't have that. But she looks completely unfazed at this point, it was unbelievable because as soon as I saw it, I was like, what? She should be a mess. She should be skin grafts. I mean, how much time has passed? Again, I mean, burn victims, jeez, my heart goes out to anybody who suffers like major burns because it's life altering. And so, but they had to make her just totally normal and pretty. So, but then, and it's kind of the movie kind of, or the show just kind of rolls along, and then it's basically picking up the pieces. John comes home from the hospital, and, he's being John. John's a real gruff, and he's a hard ass. He's an old like cowboy style. He just doesn't take any shit, and he's very gruff and to the point. He's a man of few words, and he's giving people a hard time, like the ambulance and the people, the medical workers and shit. But it was hard to believe because we saw him get sprayed in the chest. He got shot like 3 times at, I don't know, maybe 15 yards, and he survived and he's walking around. So again, I wish they would. The show was supposed to be realistic in the respect that it's happening in our world. It's happening in America. It's happening in our life. So it's not in some alternate universe or some metaverse where they have superpowers. It was really unrealistic. So, he's fine. He's obviously suffering. He's got some pain. He's walking around in some discomfort, but he's strolling around like nothing. And Beth is just strolling around like nothing happened. So the show kind of indicates that there's a guy that doesn't indicate. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. The show, there's a guy that shows up at the casino, the Indian casino. And, I didn't think the character was bad, but he was just it was kind of a one note type of character. And he starts running his mouth about how he was the guy who orchestrated this whole thing that happened to the Duttons. And the head of the casino and the head of the tribe, his name is, let me get his name up real quick. How come I don't see his name on here? That's not cool. Oh, there he is. I'm sorry, Gil Birmingham, and his is his real name, and he plays Thomas Rainwater. He's the chief of the tribe, and his right hand man, who is played, who I think this guy's really cool. His real name is Mo Brings Plenty. I don't know if that's his real name, but that's pretty badass. Mo Brings Plenty is the name that's listed on IMDb, and he plays Rainwater's driver. And I like him. So real quick, I want to say that I am Native American. My father is registered to the tribe, so I have Native American blood in me, and so I always like it when movies or TV shows, like when they show Native Americans, and they show, like, I love like the long hair. Like, if you don't know, my hair is really long, and I always appreciate that when they show that sort of culture and stuff. But outside of that, we're kind of left with this guy who's given up some information, who claims to be the organizer of the assassination attempt on the Dutton family. And other than that, it's just kind of, there was really only, the really only standout scene outside of that that's even worth talking about, which is not a good thing. Beth and Jamie. So Jamie Dutton is played by what's his name? Bentley. Yeah, Wes Bentley. That's his name. His name is Jamie Dutton. So his character is a joke. He is like a farce of a man. And it really annoys me because in season 1, he is established as, he is a lawyer. He's the attorney for the Dutton family. And he's weaselly, he's kind of a slimy, he's almost like the prototypical lawyer type, where he's very ambitious and he's got his own agenda and his own goals, which is fine. And it's okay if he's not a good guy. I don't think he needs to be a hero or anything, but they just turned his character into this sniveling little wussy in the second season, and he's been that way ever since. He just has no direction. He has no spine, and it just was it if the character had started off like that, I think I would have been like, okay, I don't like this guy. He's a weasel. But it's like they flipped a switch, you know, and I think we know why. You know, it was like they needed to make him, you know, look terrible so that Beth could look really awesome. Because in season one, Beth was a mess. She was having drinking problems and taking drugs. And I thought she was on this really cool arc of like redemption. And, but you know, she was still mouthy and belligerent, but it fit because she was always drunk and she was always high on some medication or something. So it actually made sense for her to be that way. And then she sobers up in season two out of nowhere for no reason. And now she's just like this awesome, no one can top her, no one can beat her. She always has the last word. She always is, she's the best and greatest at everything. And it's super frustrating because she's annoying. She's just not a good person. She's mean. And it's like, I say that like, oh, she's a mean person. She's a meanie. No, no. Like no, she has no compass like at all, like no moral compass. It's like 1 minute she will be kind, and then all of a sudden she's just this belligerent cuss, cuss, curse, curse, cuss, curse. It's just like constant, and it's just really annoying. And again, if she was a guy, I'd be like, dude, this dude's a douchebag. Shut up. Stop talking. And that's whenever I see her, that's how I feel. And they really turned Jamie's character and her, he is basically her scratching post. Every scene between Jamie and Beth is him being a sniveling little, just, just a, like, I don't even want to say the word, but he's just being a total wuss, and he's spineless. And then she is this domineering, just bully, you know, and just and she has all these reasons to hate him. And she does, and again, I want to be clear about something. The storyline that they created, I didn't like it because it just sort of manifested into what it was, that Jamie had what he had did to her as a child, where she was pregnant and she went to him to get an abortion, and she's like 14 years old or 15 and he's like 16 or 17. So you have two children essentially. And then he takes her to get an abortion, and apparently they gave her a hysterectomy as a child. That was the most ridiculous storyline. What doctor would do that? It really was just like, and then it was like this really terrible thing that Jamie had done, because apparently Jamie had known about it, or that knew that the doctor was going to do it, and said okay anyways. I don't know any doctor that would just allow that to happen. I just don't. I mean, I know, you know, it's like, it was back in like the, you know, they probably were growing up around the same time I was. So it was like back in like the 80s or 90s. But I really thought that was just a forced way to make Jamie seem like this disgusting person. It was like, okay, it didn't make any sense. Like this, you could have made him a disgusting person in another way, or he had done something to the family, but it was such a weird storyline that I just did not like. It didn't land with me at all. It seemed ridiculous. And that was the reason why Beth hates him, like constantly, just constantly harassing the guy. And again, it's like, there is no back and forth. Every scene is him running from her, literally, like in a house or in an office, and she's just walking around bullying him, and she just talks down to him and, you know, says he's a piece of crap and he's this and he's that. And it was just another scene like that. Every scene through season 2 and season 3 was, every scene with them two was the same thing. It was just rinse, repeat. Beth's dominating him. He's a big pussy, and she's going to rule over him and ruin his life and just make his life miserable. So when that scene happened, again, we were watching it, and we both, I could hear Normie wife just sitting over there. And as soon as she walked in the door, she let out this big audible just sigh, like, and I laughed. I kind of giggled like out loud. And it was like, here we go. And sure enough, they just pick up right where they left off. And here's Beth doing some stupid shit, trying to, she throws a rat trap at him or something like that, and it snaps on him. And he's just nothing. He's just like this. He's nothing. He's a useless character. And it's like, he's just there for her to look awesome. And it doesn't work. For me, she doesn't look awesome. She looks like a total douche. And then she threatens to kill him. And she's like, oh, just so you know, I'm going to be the one that's going to kill you. Okay, great. That's awesome. So that scene was really the other scene. There is another scene. That's right. So that scene was probably the worst scene in the whole episode that I thought was ridiculous. The other scene was Beth's at the bar drinking liquor, and a man and a woman walk in to the bar. And there's no one else there. It's kind of a quiet bar. And the couple walks up, and she asks the bartender, excuse me, can you point me to the restroom? And the husband is just he's like such a dick, and he's like, I'm gonna go first. Order me a drink. And it was such a line. I'm sure it happens. I'm sure that line has been spoken in real life, but it's so unrealistic. I have never. This guy was just a total douche to his wife, and she just sort of takes it. There was no back and forth. She didn't stand up for herself. And then Beth and her Beth has a few words with her, and then the husband comes back, and Beth's basically just like, basically telling her how she's awesome, women are awesome, and men suck. And it was just like, it's that message just gets, they beat that drum constantly in these shows and in Hollywood in general, and it gets tired. Like, I just get really tired of it because it's not even realistic. You have to write better. If you want to make a point like that, I'm okay with it, but you got to write better. And Beth's dialogue is just terrible. So Beth makes a couple of ridiculous lines that are supposed to be like words of wisdom, and the husband comes back, and he's like, and just the way he even talks, like, "Where's my beer?" And it's like, who would talk to their wife like that? I just don't know. Like, man, and I don't know. It just seems so unrealistic. And then she's like, "Get my drink," and I'm going to the bathroom. And then she's like, "Thanks," and she gives a little wink to Beth. And it was just like, it was this total forced scene that didn't have any place in the show. It was just another scene to make Beth look cool, and for her, because she rags on men. Like, she's constantly telling men that she's twice the man they are, and she's twice as tough. And even John Dutton, they write that in for him to be like, "Oh yeah, you're basically the strongest son I have," and that type of crap. And it just doesn't work, man. It's like, it just doesn't work because if she was if she was a man and she acted the way that she acted, people would hate the guy. They'd be like, "This guy is so, he's just, God, he just talks all the time. He won't shut up. And can he not cuss?" I believe that he would come off as like this really rude and annoying person. And then they just have a woman doing it, and it's supposed to be okay. Well, I didn't think the episode was terrible. I thought that the injury thing for Beth, and that was the other thing too. That's right. They do show Beth, her back has some scars. Again, she is totally fine. Like, her back is scarred up and she has a little scar on her face, and that's it. And when you see her and the state in which she was in, first of all, she wouldn't have survived. But if she did, she would be skin grafts for years, and she would not be just strolling around, acting like nothing's nothing, wearing tight clothes and everything. It's like they didn't research burn victims in any way, shape, or form. So that part was it was just silly. I just didn't like it. And we also see another character, Jimmy Herdstrom, and he's played by Jefferson White. Always rooted for him. I'm not going to get into it, but he's an underdog, and I always liked him in the show. And he's apparently got some sort of major problem. They show him for a second, and he's obviously struggling. He has it looks like some sort of neurological problem, but we'll see. I know this was kind of long, but I did want to catch up a little bit on what happened last season, and I'll try to cut these down a little bit more going forward. But the episode was okay. I didn't think it was great. There's a lot of problems that are just, they're bringing them right back from season 3 and season 2, and just really unrealistic stuff. And I wish they would just ground it a little bit more. And I almost feel like they're afraid to kill someone off. I do. Jamie's fine. I'm sorry, not Jamie. Casey. Casey's fine. He's walking around the ranch in a ghillie suit, which was laughable. I laughed when I saw that. It made no sense. Like, it was silly. But yeah, everyone's fine. Everyone's just sort of living like it was just another day on the ranch. And it was a bummer because it left us on such a cliffhanger that I thought for sure, wow, who are we going to lose? And it's going to be, am I going to not like it? Am I going to like it? Whatever. Everyone's back, and the show must go on. And then they kill the bad guy from last season, the big corporate billionaire guy who's trying to buy out the Dutton Ranch. He gets killed in a ridiculous way. Silly. Rip throws a snake at him. He throws this actual snake. The snake bites him in the face, and then he runs away, and he makes it like 10 seconds, and he falls over and dies. And it's like, Beth can get blown up completely. John Dutton can take bullet after bullet from an Armalite rifle at point blank range. Everyone's fine. This dude gets a snake bite in the face, and boom, he's dead. So it's that type of stuff that, man, I really hope that they can. I hope that they can get past some of this silly shit, because if you want your show to be based in reality, you got to be realistic. And right now, it's just it's really unrealistic. But it's fun to watch in sort of that comical way, because I am having fun watching the show. I'm having fun laughing, and I'm even having fun groaning at just the ridiculous dialogue lines that Beth throws out, which are just cringeworthy every time. But I'm gonna wrap it up for now. Got to go to bed. Got to go to work in the morning. So if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. I always struggle with that word. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd appreciate a subscription, and get some notifications for when my videos do come out, and share it with your friends. And if you didn't like the video, it's okay. Give me a thumbs down. I'm cool with that too. Leave a comment in the section if you're watching the show. Let me know what you think of it. Other than that, I will see you later. Bye.